Hello and welcome to Indus News, live from Islamabad. I am Munib Hamid with the news of this hour. Let's begin with the top stories first. A top U.S. commander says Afghanistan risks sliding into civil war as American troops withdraw from the country. In a news conference, General Austin Miller accused the Taliban of failing to reduce violence in line with the Doha deal. Meanwhile, the Taliban claim to have captured Balkh's Kaldar district, seizing weapons and ammunition. At least 230 people have died in Canada amid an unprecedented heat wave that has smashed temperature records. The Vancouver Police Department alone said it had responded to more than 65 sudden deaths since Monday. The weather agency says Canada registered its record temperature of 49.5 degrees Celsius for a third straight day in British Columbia. The Netherlands has accused Russian warplanes of harassing its Navy frigate in the Black Sea. Dutch Defense Ministry says Russian jets flew dangerously close to the vessel, creating an unsafe situation. However, Moscow said it scrambled bombers to prevent the ship from entering Russian waters last Thursday. Brazil says it will suspend a $324 million Indian COVID-19 vaccine deal that led to President Jair Bolsonaro's being accused of irregularities. The Latin American country has registered nearly 1,900 deaths from the virus and more than 64,000 cases overnight. Meanwhile, in Pakistan, 27 people have died and over 900 tested positive in the last 24 hours. While globally, the virus has claimed more than 3.9 million lives and has infected over 181 million people so far. And these were the top stories. News in detail after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Now let's have the news in detail. A top U.S. commander says Afghanistan risks sliding into civil war as American troops withdraw from the country. In a news conference, General Austin Miller accused the Taliban of failing to reduce violence in line with the Doha deal. General Miller also hinted at a resumption of U.S. airstrikes on the Taliban if they do not stop the violence. He also warned of very hard times for Kabul if its leadership fails to unite following the pullout. Earlier, Germany's defense ministry said it has completed its withdrawal from Afghanistan after almost 2 decades. Meanwhile, the Taliban claim to have captured Balkh's Kaldar district, seizing weapons and ammunition, while the Afghan Defense Ministry has claimed to kill 10 Taliban in land and air raids in the Chak district of Maidan Wardak. At least 230 people have died in Canada amid an unprecedented heat wave that has smashed temperature records. A majority of those reported dead were elderly or had underlying health conditions. The Vancouver Police Department alone said it had responded to more than 65 sudden deaths since Monday. The suburb of Burnaby reported at least 34 sudden deaths and the Surrey area recorded 38. The weather agency says Canada registered its record temperature of 49.5 degrees Celsius for a third straight day in British Columbia. Environment Canada has issued heat warnings for the provinces of British Columbia and Alberta. Now, the Netherlands has accused Russian warplanes of harassing its Navy frigate in the Black Sea. Dutch Defense Ministry says Russian jets flew dangerously close to the vessel, creating an unsafe situation. It said the frigate was carrying out a patrol in the area and Russia violated rights to free use of the sea. In a statement, Defense Ministry Ank Bill-Levad Squadron termed Moscow's action irresponsible and aggressive. However, Moscow said it scrambled bombers to prevent the ship from entering Russian waters last Thursday. It said the warplanes flew at a safe distance from the vessel and in line with international regulations. Prime Minister Imran Khan says it's unfair of the United States and Western powers to put pressure on countries like Pakistan to choose sides. In an interview with China Global Television Network, he said Islamabad will not downgrade its ties with Beijing. Khan said China has always stood by Pakistan in testing times and the relations between the two have gotten stronger with time. He termed the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor as the biggest thing happening in the country. Pakistan's Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa says his country values its ties with the European Union. He was speaking to Chairman European Union Military Committee General Claudio Graziano through a video call. The military's media wing said the two sides discussed the regional security situation, including recent developments in Afghanistan. General Graziano hailed Pakistan's role in regional peace and stability, including the Afghan peace process. Both the dignitaries pledged to play their role for further improvement in cooperation at all levels. Meanwhile, Pakistan has reported 27 more deaths from COVID-19 in the past 24 hours. The Health Ministry says the nationwide number of fatalities has reached 22,281. The ministry said the virus infected 979 people overnight, taking the positivity rate to 2.3%. The country has reported over 957,000 infections so far, while more than 903,000 have recovered. The ministry says there are over 31,000 active cases in the country, of which nearly 1,900 are critical. Pakistan has administered almost 16 million doses of vaccines to date. Meanwhile, Brazil has registered nearly 1,900 deaths from the coronavirus and more than 64,000 cases overnight. Globally, the virus has claimed over 3.9 million lives and has infected more than 181 million people. More about the pandemic in this report. The highly infectious Delta strain of the virus that first originated in India is causing mayhem as it continues to spread around the world. Fears are growing over major sporting events like Euro 2020 and the upcoming Olympic Games that may act as super spreaders. Meanwhile, tallies show that the world passed the milestone of over 3 billion COVID-19 vaccines administered. Cuba has begun the testing of its Soberana 2 candidate vaccine on children aged 3 to 18 years. Guatemala has asked Russia to return money paid for doses of the Sputnik vaccine because of non-delivery. Brazil has announced to suspend a $324 million Indian vaccine contract that has mired President Jair Bolsonaro in accusations of irregularities.
This matter was discussed and under the guidance of the Office of the Comptroller General of the Union, for convenience and opportunity, we decided to suspend the contract of the COVID vaccine so that the more in-depth analysis can be carried out, more investigations are carried out. On the other hand, the Ministry of Health will conduct an administrative investigation.
The Royal Society of Canada reported that the country's coronavirus death toll may be twice that of the official tally. Canada has also recommended people with a history of capillary leak syndrome not to be inoculated with AstraZeneca's vaccine. Meanwhile, Australia's New South Wales continues to be the worst hit state in the country's latest outbreak of Delta variant, while officials extend lockdown and social distancing measures to more of the country.
So I just ask New South Wales citizens to please keep following the advice that Dr Chant has given all of us, that Dr Chant provides to me and the government, because that is our assured way of seeing this lockdown end when we'd like it to end, and also our assured way of dealing with this very infectious strain of the COVID-19.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has chastised top officials for failures in anti-epidemic work, leading to a great crisis and put safety at risk. In Indonesia, COVID-19 surge is on the edge of a catastrophe as Delta variant dominates transmission and chokes hospitals. Now, the UN has called on Israeli authorities to put an end to ongoing demolitions of Palestinian properties in occupied East Jerusalem. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres voiced deep concerns over the continued demolitions. As the Israeli forces start demolishing spree in the Silvan neighborhood, the UN chief called on Tel Aviv to act in line with international human rights laws. The occupying forces injured 16 Palestinians and arrested 3 as they stormed the neighborhood. Meanwhile, overnight, Israeli police stormed the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood and arrested 4 Palestinians. Dozens of Palestinian families residing in Old City's neighborhood since 1956 are facing forceful expulsions in favor of Israeli settlers. Earlier, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau reaffirmed Ottawa's commitment to the creation of a Palestinian state. Palestinian media says Trudeau also rejected the forceful expulsion of Palestinians in a phone call with President Mahmoud Abbas. Now, the Tigrayan fighters have rejected the unilateral ceasefire declared by Ethiopia's government, calling it a sick joke. In an interview, the group spokesperson accused the government of long denying humanitarian aid to the Tigrayan people. The Tigrayan fighters reportedly continue to take control of more territory in the embattled northern Ethiopian region. Earlier, the group claimed to have regained the control of regional capital of Mekelle. The rebels have vowed to stop at nothing to liberate Tigray, including recruiting soldiers from neighboring Eritrea. Earlier, the US warned Ethiopia and Eritrea of strict action if the government's ceasefire declaration fails to improve the situation. The developments mark a dramatic turn in a conflict that has killed thousands of people and displaced more than 2 million. Now, UN member states have agreed to a $6 billion peacekeeping budget for 12 missions. Diplomats say the General Assembly Committee decided on the budget for the year through June 30th, 2022. The budget will be formally adopted by the 193-member UN General Assembly on Wednesday. The announcement has narrowly averted a possible shutdown of the operations. European Union diplomat Thibault Kemele said the disability of members to respect deadlines puts the entire peacekeeping architecture in jeopardy. The US is the largest contributor to the peacekeeping budget, responsible for about 28%, followed by China and Japan. United Airlines has announced orders to buy 270 jets for about $35 billion. The order is the largest aircraft purchase in the company's history and the biggest by any airline in about a decade. In a statement, United's chief executive Scott Kirby said the deal will accelerate the business to meet a resurgence in travel. The purchase includes 200 Boeing 737 MAX and 70 Airbus A321neo jets. The deal will allow the airline to better compete for both premium and low-cost travel. The airline also announced to hire a total of 25,000 employees for the new planes. Moving on now, Russia says it has launched Progress MS-17 freighter spacecraft to send supplies to the International Space Station. The launch was carried out with a Soyuz 2.1, a rocket from the Baikonur space station in Kazakhstan. The spacecraft reached orbit approximately 9 minutes after the launch. The Progress will dock with the Russian segment of the ISS on July 22nd, where it will stay until late October. Aboard is more than 1,600 kilograms of supplies and consumables for the 7-person Expedition 65 crew. This is the second launch of a Russian space freighter to the International Space Station this year. More news coming up after a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back now. A tiger park in Thailand's Phuket is set to open its doors again for overseas tourists. They will be given a green light to travel elsewhere in Thailand after 14 days. The Tiger Kingdom's parks, more than 90% staff has been vaccinated against coronavirus ahead of the arrival of foreign tourists. The park, with more than 50 tigers and cheetahs, used to welcome more than 1,000 visitors a day before the pandemic struck.
ในส่วนของการเตรียมความพร้อม
We have prepared with many precautionary procedures to create confidence for incoming tourists. We have vaccinated more than 90% of our staff. We received Thailand Safety and Health Administration Plus certificate. We have also practiced a routine to clean all surfaces that can be touched every 30 minutes and will also provide alcohol-based hand sanitizer. We have trained the staff about tourism in the new normal.
The government hopes that the scheme will draw 129,000 visitors to the country in the third quarter. There was an average of 3.3 million monthly arrivals to Thailand in 2019.
ก็รู้สึกดีใจครับที่แบบ
I'm happy that finally there will be people visiting the Tigers and Phuket city will be bustling again. Incoming tourists will help with the mental health of both the Tigers and the staff.
The country lost about $50 billion revenue last year. Foreign arrivals plunged to 6.7 million from a record 39.9 million in 2019. Phuket was particularly hard hit by job losses and business closures due to the coronavirus pandemic. Now, Asian markets are trading mixed as oil prices continue to rise and investors react to China's data on manufacturing activity. Sales Kospi has gained almost 0.5%. Stocks in mainland China and Australia have also edged up marginally. Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index has slipped almost 0.5%. The Nikkei 225 in Japan is trading flat. And now let's have a look at how the weather is doing around the world. And that is all for now. For the latest updates, you can follow us on social media at Indus.News.